Well, reports that former Governor Andrew Cuomo is planning a political comeback look to be more reliable each day. This just 6 months after his resignation amid sexual harassment allegations.
And yesterday, he held another campaign-style event, this one in the Bronx, addressing a group at the New York Hispanic Clergy Organization. Cuomo said all options are on the table.
I'm open to all options, and I'm going to leave it at that.
I want you back.
Wow. Well, the latest poll in a hypothetical matchup between Cuomo and New York Governor Kathy Hochul shows Cuomo trailing Hochul by just 4 points. So if Andrew Cuomo does decide to enter the race, how would that shake things up among Democrats? Joining us now, Democratic strategist and director of the public policy program at Hunter College, Basil Smikle. Also with us, Christine Quinn, executive committee chair of the New York State Democratic Committee and CEO of the nonprofit organization WIN. Thank you guys so much for both being with us this morning.
Thank you.
So, Basil, I want to start with you. We saw those numbers here. 37% still would be backing Hochul, 33% would be backing Governor Cuomo. Were you surprised by these numbers?
You know, I wasn't surprised that Andrew Cuomo still has high marks among a certain segment of the voting population in New York. He's always going to have some kernel of support, but there are a lot of other polls that even if they have him that high close to Kathy, most of those polls say that most voters don't want him to run again. And that's really what's important here, because even though some people may still like him, the question is there enough out there to say, as Bill Clinton used to say, enough to fire her and hire him, right? Like, do people are really not happy with Kathy's job to say we need somebody else, we need to bring Andrew Cuomo back? That's what's still uncertain here. My guess is that it's going to be difficult for him to convince voters that Kathy Hochul isn't doing a good job and that she should be replaced. So who knows, but he still has $16 million to play with.
Yeah, and Christine, talking off the back of what Basil said, you're saying she still has this time period to fill to see where things go, whether people like what she does or whether she doesn't. I think you are probably more so on the side of, like, this is just outrageous that he's trying to get back into the political circle again.
I mean, everything Basil said, you know, is correct. That said, I do think it's outrageous that he's trying to get back into elected office and run. Now, I don't want to take away all the good things that Andrew Cuomo did. You can't take away someone's record, but you can't take away someone's record. And his record includes having to resign as governor because of numerous allegations, including against a state trooper, of sexual assault and sexual harassment. Why do we want to play that out across every county in the state? I mean, just think of those women, how triggering and horrible this would be for them. There is just no need for this. If Andrew Cuomo wants to serve the state of New York, there are many ways to do that outside of elected office.
And Christine, would this in some way be a gift to Republicans if Democrats were to choose Cuomo in the primary, given some of the allegations that he has in the past?
I have no doubt, because I think she's doing a really good job. I have no doubt that Kathy Hochul would beat Andrew Cuomo. But having the whole issue of a Democratic governor resigning because of sexual assault and sexual harassment, whoever wins the primary, is a gift to the Republicans. There is no question, and we don't need that, especially right now, given all of the horrible anti-LGBTQ, anti-voting, anti-immigrant issues, anti-choice issues that the Republicans are pushing in states across the country.
And Basil, right now, the governor has said, the former governor has said in some of those speeches that he's given, basically that bail reform is this existential threat to the state and to the city of New York. But that is a bill and piece of legislation that he signed into law, and now he's calling for faster changes to it. Does he have a leg to stand on there?
Well, what he's trying to do is run to Kathy's right, if you will. And I'm going to echo Christine's comment. It is outrageous what he's trying to do here, because he's trying to undermine a sitting governor. If anyone tried to do that to him, they'd be excoriated. And so what he's doing is running to her right. He's banking on the sort of suburban New Yorker dissatisfaction with the progressive wing of the party, the liberal wing of the party. And you heard in his speeches, he's been calling out cancel culture. Whatever issue you have with it, it's kind of there for a reason. It's there to bring light to call attention to the behavior that he's exhibited, right? And so my concern around all of this is that here's a woman who is in office who is making history as we speak. What is the rationale for you to do this, except the fact that you think you can? So he's running to Kathy's right. He's banking on some dissatisfaction there.
Basil, can we ask you one question?
I just don't see it.
Can we ask you one question, just as a political playbook, how this goes? What does Kathy Hochul and her team need to do? Because yesterday we spoke to Brian Benjamin. Dan asked him what his thoughts were when Cuomo kind of getting back out in the circle again, and he didn't answer the question. He gave a non-answer.
Well, listen, look, Kathy Hochul and Brian Benjamin have to run their race. They have to govern and run their race, right? Like,
but they have to address it.
Necessarily. Well, listen, they're raising a tremendous amount of money. So I think that's one really important factor here, that they've outraised all of their competitors and essentially tried to push folks out of their lane. And that's incredibly important. They did that very early on. And they're trying to make it so that going after her, challenging her, is prohibitive. I don't know that Andrew Cuomo can raise much more money than the $16 million he has. So let him spend his money. Let him do what he's going to do. Kathy Hochul, Brian Benjamin, they're focused on governance right now. By the way, they're in the middle of a budget negotiation. That means a lot for the voters of the state of New York.
Well, we appreciate.
And while they're in the middle of that budget negotiations, just the day before yesterday, Governor Hochul signed yet another strong anti-sexual harassment law into law. She has put forward very tough pro-choice, pro-abortion initiatives. She's been with the lieutenant governor all over the state trying to get as much infrastructure money from the federal government as possible, which will help our state and also put people back to work.
They certainly,
so as Basil said, they're governing, and that's what they will get judged on.
That's right.
All right, well, we'll see. We still got to let this play out. Thank you both for joining us, Basil Smykel and Christine Quinn. Appreciate you guys.
Take care.